Well, Egyptian Americans, as well as Arab Americans and people of conscious people that follow what the developments in the region, are very concerned for the safety of the citizens of Egypt. But at the same time, we're very inspired and we're very proud of what the Egyptian people are doing to rise up, to demand their rights, to demand freedom and justice, and to the end of corruption and dictatorship and the end of the regime as it stands.
What are people making? I want to ask you about what Joe Biden was saying on the eve of Friday's demonstrations, when he said that Mubarak is not a dictator. They've been played over and over again on the U.S. networks. I mean, how do Egyptians in the U.S. feel about that?
Well, we're very perplexed by Mr. Biden's comments, as well as Hillary Clinton's comments. It just shows that they're out of touch with reality, and they don't speak for all Americans. Whether it's Democrats or Republicans, Tea Party or liberals, the status has been for the past 30 years that they're with Mubarak, whether the people want him or not. Look, the administration knows that Mubarak is not popular in Egypt, but he does their bidding there, and that's why they like him. And that sends mixed messages to people in the Muslim world, as well as here in the United States, because on one hand, we're always talking about American values, promoting democracy and freedom around the world. For example, in Iran, we're pushing for democracy there and regime change. We're talking about democracy, the administration is, when it comes to Lebanon and other areas. But then they're quiet about the democracy or the lack of democracy in Egypt and other places. Look, President Obama had that famous Cairo speech, did not make any comments about democracy in Egypt, and did not push for that democracy or for that reform in Egypt. And on the eve of the Friday protests, Mr. Biden making such comments was irresponsible. And of course, they had to backpedal on Friday night.
And do you see the events that we've seen both in Tunisia and now Egypt as triggering some sort of political awakening among American Arabs?
It is. I mean, this is what we have been hoping for such a long time. Of course, as Arab Americans here, Muslim Americans, Egyptian Americans, we've been enjoying the benefits and the blessings of freedoms, of democracy, of lack of corruption. And we love it here. And we want for people there to have the same things that we enjoy here. To have that prosperity and to have that freedom, to be able to speak their mind, to be able to have the right to self-determination. And we've always been told that the Arab world cannot do it on their own.
What do you think the chances of them achieving that level of democracy are, though?
Well, it takes time to get to democracy. When you've had regimes, dictatorships for such a long time, democracy is not going to happen overnight. And the democracy that first starts out with the first election may not be the most ideal, may not be exactly what everybody wants or the ideal government. But you have to give democracy a chance. And unfortunately, the United States and Western powers are too quick to condemn governments that are voted by the people. Look, you may not like what's happening in Iran or Ahmadinejad, but if that's what the people want, well, it's their people, it's their country, it's their right to choose that. In Gaza or in Palestine, they had an election. America didn't like that election. It's not for America to decide who leads Palestine. It's for the Palestinians to decide. And the same thing goes for Tunisia, for Egypt, for Yemen, for Jordan. The people have to choose their own leadership. And I think that people in Egypt right now are speaking loud and clear that they don't want this leader. They don't want this regime. They want the end of the corruption. And they're speaking as loud as they can. And they're trying to peacefully protest. And anytime you try to stop peaceful protest, you make violent protests inevitable, and that's what we're seeing happening in Egypt right now.